Hello and welcome to week 4 of the Digital Hospital Training for Pharmacists. My name's Jess, I'm one of the clinical trainers for here. So just a bit of a recap what we've already done in the last 3 trainings. We've gone through how to navigate through PowerChat, what the different tabs means, how to create a different patient list, so patient list, multi-patient task list and our clinical pharmacist work list. We've gone in and we've also documented allergies, checked to make sure that they are correct and changed them if they were in there correct with the green tick. We've updated our patient's home medications list. We then created a progress note utilising that list. We've reconciled it against our MAR, making and documenting any interventions if medications are missing or if they're not exactly how the patient has said they've been taking as well, and we can't identify any reasons. So today's session we're just going to continue on with a little bit more documentation, so what to do if we need to follow up on some issues as well as in terms of that investigating of the omeprazole, also how we can do an addendum in our progress notes. We're also going to see once our patient is ready for discharge how we can do their discharge reconciliation, and if we've got time at the end we'll just quickly go through and recap over our progress of our patient. So navigating back through PowerChat, like we did last week, we're going to open up our patient's chart from our multi-patient task list. So we'll use Erin again, who's got our data, open patient chart and into patient summary. So what we can do if we want to create a reminder for ourselves to follow up, so we need to confirm the medication history with the community pharmacy, for example. We can create a consult to pharmacy to follow this, or follow up for pharmacy, sorry, from this. So what we need to do is go back into our medication list and click on add. We bring up this new function, this new screen that we haven't seen before, and we're actually going to be looking for a follow-up. So typing in follow-up. We'll find that we've got a few different disciplines that we can pick. So we're going to pick our pharmacy one and click done. So now we actually need to put in what we're wanting to follow up as well. So additional comments, please confirm history with community pharmacy when open, unsure of using omeprazole strength. We can say when we're requesting it and click up on sign. Clicking refresh. So now we can also see that with our consults we can see that they're there as well. So this is just medication, so we can change our filters. We can also change from all active medications to all active. All medication statuses. This is also gives us any ceased medications that we may have as well. We just go back to our orders list up here. We're in medication list, sorry. And we can see that we've actually got consults and referrals too. So if we're scrolling down, we've got our consult referrals, we've got follow-up to pharmacy, we've got a consult that we haven't finished, and our clinical reviews. So once we've followed up with the community pharmacy, they've confirmed that yes, the omeprazole is correct. What we can actually go back in to do is in our documentation, in our patient admission history, we can also modify this as well. So modify. What we're actually going to do is copy that, but now we're also going to delete this as well. So it never actually will delete, it'll only ever put red lines through it, and we're going to annotate our issues up the top here, sorry, down the bottom. Got our addendum, we're going to put in paste. So we can then take out that we're not investigating, that is the strength. We've also, if we have a look at our MAR, we could see by tearing off. Maybe. What's the rest about PowerChat? We can see how the other issue's been rectified as well. So we can go back and have a look at our MR. Pin that back so we can see. We can see, oh, we've now got amlodipine charted. So we can change our C intervention to our dash. Aspirin, Obasat, nicotine, nicotine. So our nicotine patch is now being charted. Put in our dash. Oops, don't want to do that. So just flicking over to the screen. Just going to scroll down, and we can see that our thyroxine is charted as well. So we can remove our C interventions and put our dashes there. You can also see that our clopidogrel has been ceased too. So what I'm going to do now is say sign and submit. And we can now say update our sources. So patient or previous history. We should have copied and pasted that one. Previous history, and meds, patient, NCP, cease medications, clopidogrel, completed 12 months, Feb 2017. Sign and submit that. We're going to reattach our progress note. So just go back into our menu and pin it back. Refresh. We can see our progress note now contains addenda. And we can see we've got our updated medication list here, that it's been verified and it's up to date now as well. So we can go back into our activities and interventions, pharmacy consults, and we can say that we've completed that one as well. And refresh, and that'll disappear. We've completed our consult to the pharmacy, so we can tick on that we've completed that too. We can also go back to our clinical review, and we can say that we've done our clinical review for the day as well. Tick it, and like I said, it pre-generated, so it's telling it's last done, but it's also now regenerated for the next pharmacy review as well, whether that be today or tomorrow morning. So once we've completed all our documentation, the doctor's told us that the patient's ready for discharge. So another way that I can actually confirm that is going into the medication list. I can see now that there's a green tick under my discharge summary here as well, which means the doctor's completed his reconciliation under using the correct form. So the discharge reconciliation is quite simple. What we're going to be doing is going to the reconciliation button, clicking on discharge, and we can see what the doctor's done. Now, if the doctor hasn't completed all these fields, so stopping and starting his medications, it actually won't tick the green discharge function, so just to bear that in mind. So this field does look a little bit confusing, but essentially these are all the medications that the patient was on, whether it be their home medications, inpatient and hospital medications, and then purely just hospital medications as well. So what the doctor's actually gone through, and they've gone to click on play to say what they want to continue on discharge, and they've got stop for what they want to discontinue. So you'll find that there's duplicates there with your amlodipine and your on your inpatient and your home medications. We always recommend that the doctor actually selects play on the home medications and not the inpatient's water, purely because if we've got any additional information on the home medications, it actually will carry through, whereas the hospital one won't. We can also see that here the doctor's actually generated some prescriptions as well. So a patient, if you recall, came in with H. pylori and they're going home with the 3 medications to treat that. We can also see, if we scroll down, is there any other prescriptions? No. So another way then what we do, we can print this out. So we'll print preview for now. So what we're going to be doing is using this report because it's not really user friendly for the patient, and we're going to be doing our chart reconciliation against the patient's summary, or the patient's medication summary as well, so seeing if anything's been charted there and making sure it's on our discharge summary, and obviously against our medication admission history as well. So just like we do when we reconcile a prescription, if it's changed, if it's increased, if it's changed, if it's temporary, and popping it on here. We'll then be taking this annotated document, and depending on the ward that you're working on, This will then be entered into ELMS, so it may be that your technician can enter this in ELMS as a draft with then you authorising after, or you'll be entering it yourself as well. So we still are using the DMR function at the end as well, just so it generates a nicer little picture for our patient. So I just wanted to show you a little bit about the prescription so you get a bit of an idea of how it looks differently. So we can see here that we've been generating a prescription, and hopefully the doctor would have sent that prescription with that over to you as well when they're being discharged. If I click on the prescription, and if it has any extra information, we may be only able to see in the doctor's view as well if it's been entered correctly. So just on that note, I'm just going to flick over to doctor's view so you can actually just see when we do have what the PBS function does look like. I'm sure we will get some questions from the doctors with PBS questions. So this is a decision support tool that flags up for doctors. So just by changing it, I'm already in my patient as well. So if the doctor's made any errors on the discharge or the discharge prescription, you can always ask them to change it. They need to go back into their discharge reconciliation and do this themselves. So what I'm going to do when my menu bar pops up, there we go back into our orders. There you go, in the same section as that we looked at before as the reconciliation and it's the discharge. So now I can see that this field's actually not greyed out. So when we're a pharmacist, you may have noticed it was a greyed out field. Obviously as pharmacists we can't generate prescriptions as well. So I can maximise that so you can see it a little bit clearer. So if I click on my esomeprazole, that's not letting me do it. It's saying that I want to modify it. By modifying it, this brings up my scratch pad here as well. So it's essentially like when you're putting in your home medications, you've got the same sort of fields that need to be filled out. So the extra tab that we have down here that we didn't have before is the PBS tab. So if the doctor's prescribing something, they need to click on the PBS tab and select the corresponding one that they need for that patient. So clicking on the top one, and then they go back to their details, and it pre-populates how much we're going to be dispensing here as well. The doctor can also then change your frequency in this field and overriding it too. So for the patient that's going on the H. pylori, they're on it for twice a day. The other thing, as we would have noted in the special instructions here, it's for 7 days, then reduced back to once a day, because as you recall, the patient was on it prior to admission. The other thing the doctor can do as well, so to generate it, they can actually put in the duration if they feel, but because this patient was on it previously, we're not going to change that. But for the clarithromycin, that's fine with that one. My computer's just frozen. Sorry, just bear with me. So, see if we can get out of our order screen. Doesn't like that one. Oh, there we go. So we're going to go back and have a look at our amoxicillin as well and just sort of see what that looks like. See, the doctor's already pre-populated that it's going to be for 7 days, and this automatically puts a stop date down here as well. So just another way just to generate and make sure that they've got the right duration in there for the patient. So if they wanted to add in a medication that did have a streamlined code, for example, if they did want to give a script for the clopidogrel, just to show you what it does look like. So they do have all this in the PBS function. We have all our streamlined codes as well. So don't be too concerned if you can't find the actual streamline code that you're looking for. If you know what it's the description of it, you can find the one. For example, this patient was on a stent. If I click on the stent and go back to my details, I'll see now I've got my streamline down here as well, so it's just another way that you can double check that you corrected the right one. What I wanted to double check as well, or I wanted to bring to your attention, is that next to my clopidogrel we have a new icon. So we now have a little padlock that's open, and that just purely means that the patient needs, or this particular medication needs a streamline code as well. If the doctor wanted to get a phone authority for something, for example if they wanted ciprofloxacin, just letting you know as well, this little red diamond just means that the medication is restricted in the hospital. So it's just another way to double check, the doctors can double check if the medication is suitably to be prescribed. So if we go into PBS, and it's potentially for a respiratory tract infection or whatever it may be, I just wanted to bring to your attention now that we actually have a locked padlock. So if we go back into our details, it's now asking us what our PBS approval number is. So it's just another way that we can also let the doctors are aware of what requirements for PBS as well, and we can also sort of double check that one too. So we're going to remove those ones because the patient doesn't need them for discharge. And then just get the doctor to re-sign off that one. We haven't changed anything. And you'll see now our green tick comes back up in the right hand corner as well. So if we just go back to our pharmacy login, and like I said, we go back into our medication list, we can see that we've got that green tick there as well, like I mentioned. Again, we just go back into discharge, and we just have to print this screen out by clicking the print button. Usually we click print, but we don't have a printer attached at the moment, so print preview. This just gives you a bit of an idea. So the process, like I said, will just be printing out this form and comparing it against your MAR summary, as the MAR summary also has medications on there, if you recall, that have been ceased or been stat doses, and then also comparing against your medication history that's in your progress notes as well, and then entering that into the DMR. The other thing that you can also see down here, if we're looking at our medication list, we can see that we've actually been prescribed. So we've actually got some prescriptions as well. So if you haven't gone into that summary section yet, you can have a look at your order list of your medications. We mustn't have all our filters here, so it's always a good double check to make sure all your filters are on. And so I can see they've been prescribed, so I should be expecting some prescriptions for those 3 medications as well. So that just brings us to the end of our summary with our patient, just a bit of user functions as well. So like I mentioned, when we get into our new patient, it's always good to go into your after you generated your patient list, go into your multi-patient task list. You go to your pharmacy consults and see who actually needs to be seen for that day by that person. So I can see there's quite a few people that are potentially new to the ward that need a pharmacy consult. So this should only be generated once when they get admitted to the hospital, unless someone actually flags a consult to you for something else in particular besides having to do an admission. Also got our clinical reviews here. These are the people that need to be seen every day, and like I said, it just regenerates the minute that you've clicked on it as well, just meaning that you can review that patient later in the afternoon. So it's a good idea just to get into the good habit of seeing what's in here. But we can also see with Erin, we have a refresh of our son. Should come up when it was last done. So if I've clicked on that one there for the day, I can see now I've got it last done as well. So therefore, if a pharmacist comes in, they can see that, so they don't need to go back and see Erin for the day as well. So just remember, going back into your patient, your chart's always hiding behind here as well. If it's been closed down for any particular reason, remember you can get into your patient just right-hand clicking on the patient here and going to open patient's chart. You can only have one person's chart open at a time, so just to make sure that you do, if you want to switch between, you need to close that chart down, otherwise you won't be able to see it. So just reminding you, you've got your patient summary at the top here with all the information. Also just wanted to bring you a note that we were sending our patient home on amoxicillin. Although the patient does have an allergy to nausea, the doctor can override that and get the clinical decision that they can go home with the amoxicillin. obviously if the patient is agreeable with that one as well. So it just brings us to the end of our patient journey as well. So we will please look at, we were doing extra labs for patients once they've done the end user training. You'll be allocated to come in and go through, do some complex medications as well, but also some free time for you to just have a play around in the system before we go live in November 20. So I look forward to see you in the end user training in our labs coming up in October and November. Thank you.